You're listening to the Footy First podcast on TSN 1050. Champions live here.
That's right, folks. It's Saturday. That means one thing here on TSN 1050. It is time for Footy First. Nick McVicar in studio with my man, Niko Giantsopoulos. Niko, how's it going today, bro?
It's going well. I don't want to tease it. It's always a little bit better when you got some company in the booth. That's all I'm going to say.
That is true, and we got more than one person in there with you today, which is great. We're joined by two new signings for York United. Forward, Brian Wright joining from Atletico Ottawa. Brian, how you doing today?
I'm good. How you doing?
All right, can't complain, man. Can't complain. And new center defensive midfielder Elijah Adekugbe joining from Cavs. How's it going, Elijah?
I'm good, bro. How you feeling?
It's Saturday. We get to talk some soccer. That's all that matters, right?
Life is good right now.
Life is good.
It's nice to hear you introduce them as my new teammates. It kind of like really put into perspective in that moment. I was like, okay.
Notice how I never said that
real,
you played for York United. I never said that. I said they play for York United.
Mm-hmm.
Shots fired.
You know something we don't know, you know?
It's early. I'm there. I've been there.
No, I just like bugging with Niko. It's the easiest way to start the Saturday. Mess with his head a little bit.
For some reason, I feel like every single team I'm on, for some reason, I end up the punching bag. I don't know if this year it's going to be on York United.
You're a good punching bag. You are.
But you know
he was
what?
a teammate of mine in Cavs.
Yeah, you take it, you give it, you're good.
But that's the thing. He takes it and gives it right back. So that's what makes him a good punching bag. If it's a guy who just takes it over and over again, it doesn't make it worth it.
Then you're
Right?
getting bullied.
Uh-oh, what's Brian saying? Oh, boy, here we go. This is going to be a very interesting show. But we got a lot to get into. More Canadian national team stuff that we want to get into. We obviously want to talk some more League One if there's some time. But let's start with talking to Brian and Elijah about their last couple years and now ending up at York. Brian, I want to start with you, if that's okay. Last year you played with Atletico Ottawa. You were part of the team that went last to first in the regular season. Mm-hmm. What was that season kind of like? How did you guys mentally prepare, and how did you guys pull out that huge comeback from last to first?
To be honest, my first year in 2021 with the team, from that year till last year, there was a lot of turnover. So I think we only had maybe 6 or 7 returners. I didn't meet the coach until I got to preseason in Spain. So everyone just showed up. We all met each other there in Spain. Had a good, what were we there, 4.5 weeks maybe. Good preseason. Had some good games over there. Obviously, it was a learning curve because it's a new coach, new staff, a bunch of new players. Everyone has to learn the system that the coach wants to play. So everyone kind of just bought into it from day one. As the season went on, obviously you make some tweaks here and there to system or certain things you want to do. But again, when people buy into a system, then it's kind of hard to beat that when everyone's on the same page.
You said you didn't know who your coach was going to be. What was like the thoughts in the off season, not knowing who your coach was going to be, but having a plane ticket to go to Spain to start preseason, but being unaware who the guy is going to be in charge?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not ideal, but like I was in a situation where I was guaranteed to go back already based on my contract. So I feel like it's more or less for the new signings and the new people coming in, because when you're like, I'm sure you guys, like Elijah, you've had questions when you're coming to York, like, but you know Nashi, so it's kind of different. But going to a new team, getting signed, like you have questions like, what's the playing style? Like, how does the coach want to play? Do I see myself in that system? Do I see myself adapting? Blah, 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 and whatnot. So for me, it was a little bit different. But obviously, at the same time, you're asking questions to people. But everything was a secret at the time. So I don't know if they thought people were going to be announcing it. People's names were getting tossed around here and there. So,
but that's the odd thing that I find is it was a secret. I mean, us from the outside, but even you being a player on that team, it was a secret to you as well.
Preseason and not know it. Also,
so
one question. Yo, 4.5 weeks of preseason in Madrid. That's annoying, no? 4.5 weeks.
Well, the year before.
4.5 weeks?
The year before.
Max. For preseason?
That's crazy. I would go 6. I would go 10 weeks.
No, you wouldn't.
Nico just wants to go to Spain. Let's be clear.
Just say you want to go to Spain.
I want to go to Spain, but if I'm playing soccer in Spain, that sounds
Did you get annoyed after like 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because remember the year before, in 2021, we were in Spain for 2 months. So that got...
Oh, yeah, y'all got stuck there.
Yeah. It's not even that we got stuck. We just didn't know when the league was going to start.
So they're just
we just stayed there. to train because obviously there was more rules over here.
You set up links in Madrid, huh? You got some people there now. You've been there like 3 months, bro.
Second home.
Yeah.
Might as well be, right? No, but like it was good. Like the facilities and everything was good, but like after a certain while, like you're in a routine where you're sharing a room with someone, and it's just like you wake up, you see them, and you go to training, you see the entire team, you go back, you're tired, you see the person again. So it's just more or less you never really had like your own space. At times, like when you're here, you have your own space where you can get up and go do something. Yeah. But obviously, being in a foreign country, you can only go so far if you don't know the language. So that's another thing. But like at the same time, like I would say close to half the team knew Spanish. So like you could go and do stuff and whatnot. And that was in 2021 where they still had rules in Madrid, but like they weren't as strict. And then obviously last year, like it was like you can only have so much free time when you're doing doubles and whatnot, or you're just tired.
Quickly, nightlife in Madrid.
Ooh,
you guys experience it?
Unbelievable.
All right, we'll leave it at that.
Well then, I don't really know how to transition out of
Nightlife in Calgary, Elijah, what's that like?
Amazing. You've been to 10th. And 17th.
I was gonna say, you know what the nightlife in Calgary is like. You did that for 2 years.
He's a veteran.
He knows what he's doing.
Calm down.
But speaking of Calgary, Elijah, like you obviously stayed there for 4 years, gone through with Tommy, earned playing time more and more every single year. Tommy is renowned as a coach. Tommy's renowned as a coach, right? And he's been talked about for Coach of the Year multiple times in the CPL. What was it like trying to earn playing time for a guy like that and trying to just like fight your way through the system?
For me, I've known Tommy like 10, 15 years, so I guess coming in, like he wants to win. Like that's the type of guy he is. He always wants to win. He's a good recruiter, so we always had good players. And I don't know, it's tough to say what it's like to like fight for it because we were raised in, I mean, me personally and the other local guys, we were raised in that system, so it's all we knew. Like, you could ask Niko and these guys that we would just come in, we work, we're used to the routine, and we kind of know what's expected and what's like there.
It's just a competitive environment all the time.
So it wasn't like I had to come in and like adapt to like something new. It was just a continuation of what I had in my youth career. Like, we're the best in Calgary Foothills, like my youth team, and he was our TD, so we were just like, that was normal to us. And then we won PDL right before CPL started.
How did Tommy change as a coach from youth soccer to now the professional game?
That's a good question.
I know.
Thing is, he actually is very similar because he's almost like when you come from the youth, you're working with players a lot and you're always trying to like make them better. So I think that's like his thought process. So when he gets a player, like if I come in, even if I'm a baller and he knows me, he's gonna try and like tell you things to improve you. But in terms of changes, I think the professional game is just way more serious. Like there's more like you can't be as friendly as you were as a youth coach. And like
the CPL is still a developmental league, so being like a developmental coach from youth, I could see it being beneficial at this level.
And and some people like it, some don't. But I think it's just like that transition from youth to pro is just it's the relationships. I can't be your best friend as a youth coach, or I can as a youth coach because like we're all boys and I'm helping you develop.
And you're still like a mentor in you.
Yeah. But as a pro, it's like it's
more cutthroat.
My job's on the line.
Yeah.
Like, you got to perform for me. So I think it's just you have a more respectful relationship as opposed to like that banter like youth coach relationship.
And then that kind of leads into another thought I want to quickly. Then how's the relationship now? How was leaving a system that you're so used to growing up? I mean, it's kind of like you see it in England all the time when these guys leave their academy clubs and move on to a new club.
Or even leave home at like 10.
Yeah.
It's crazy over there. But yeah.
How's it feel like?
So now, how was that process?
Like just leaving in general, I think he's saying.
Honestly, it hits me more when I was going through it because not even the team, it's Calgary. I've been there like my whole life. Like obviously I went to school in BC and that, but it's changed. And I think you just get comfortable when you're in the same city. So for me, like the relationship with Tommy now is definitely just like respectful, professional, because like we're competitors now, you know what I mean? And like the last year was cool, it was what it was, but it's definitely a more professional, respectful relationship now as opposed to like when you're youth 15, 16. But that transition here, like, I mean, I'm a city guy anyway, so I'm excited. I've been here 4 or 5 days, and it's just like being in a new location, new challenge, new inspiration, all that, because just in Calgary, it was, for me personally, like just been there so long, routine's the same, like that little inspiration just sometimes lacks.
Yeah.
In conversation with Brian Wright and Elijah Adekugbe, Elijah, you brought up a good point there, and like coming to a new city. Both of you are kind of now coming back to Toronto. Like, what has that transition been like? How did you guys, A, end up signing with York to begin with, and B, get everything sorted out to become ready into training camp? Either of you can start off, but...
Brian, on the other hand, is coming back home.
So yeah, I'm
it's a
coming
different
back.
system.
Talking about
It's a different
Elijah,
system. But I
yeah.
mean, signing with York, that was a whole process for both of them. So
But
I
it's-
want to
it'd
see
be
how the
interesting
two
to get-
processes different.
It'd be interesting at Brian's perspective.
Yeah.
Now you're a guy coming back home.
Yeah, for me, obviously, I haven't. Like, this is gonna be the first time I'm home for an entire calendar year since 2012. So for me, it's exciting because, like, obviously, my friends are here, my family's here. It's like what I've known for my entire life. I'm not from the York region, from the Durham region, but I'm still like a car ride away from going to see family or friends or whatever it may be. So for me, leaving Ottawa, like I was telling my agent, like it was one of two options, and like one of the appealing options was staying in Ontario to try and stay as close as possible to home. So that was one of the things for me.
Yeah, for me, it was like, I just want to change. So I think maybe like 3/4 of the way through in the season, I was talking to my agent, and then we were just like seeing what options we had.
Were you out of contract?
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
And I had the option to stay, but it was like, in my head, I was just like,
It's the same thing.
it's the same thing. If I come back, there's no growth, no change. So I wanted like something new, had a couple options, and York just stood out the most just because, first off, like the project that you got, or that we have now, I guess we're all teammates, kind of mad. But the project was to win. Like everyone wants to win here, and it's like a good group, professionals, but also just like the city, the coach, like everything about it just appealed out of like all the other options with the CPL teams I had.
Coach.
Yeah.
You've worked with Nashi before. What's
Yeah.
the appeal of coming back and now playing for him, but now he's the head coach?
Honestly, it's just like he's a midfielder too, so that's what I really like. Because like Tommy was a defender, and like based on the position you play, I feel like different positions have different personalities. You know what I mean?
100%.
So like
Absolutely.
like, you know what I mean? So I've never been like coached by midfield. I had Tommy and Leon, and Nashi was there before. But for me, it's just cool because I also don't know what he's like as a head coach. I've seen him as an assistant, and that's different. So it's like a whole experience. But I'm excited because I know Nashi knows football. He's a midfielder, and also Morrow. That was a big one for me too.
Yeah,
I played with Morrow, bro. He knows football. He's a good professional. So having those two, I kind of just felt like, okay, like they actually are building something here. And then the conversations he was signing, it was lit.
No, and it looks like the York project, as you said, is coming together pretty nicely. You've put together a solid roster heading into training camp. It's going to be interesting to see how the league kind of plays out for everybody.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Sure.
What was the timeline on the? Because it said York was supposed to be getting their own like training complex, no? Or stadium?
2025 is the date that has been
supposed to start
circling
building?
around. No, it needs
to be done.
To be done by
Is it-
2025 because 2026, that's a facility that national teams are going to be using.
It's one of the training
So they
facilities
got
for the
trick it out. They got
for the World Cup.
Yeah, for the World
Gotcha.
Cup. So, yeah, so hopefully that'll come together. I think they're still finalizing it this year, and
it's
then
still
it'll be.
just a photo, a rendering.
Well, no, it's in actual like conversations and stuff within the Woodbine Entertainment.
But they haven't put a shovel into the ground.
no,
have they?
nothing has started. Yet,
And what, it's
but-
2020? What year is it? I just had to look. It's 2023, right? They're going to get that done in 2 years?
Listen, if anyone can do it, Green Park and Woodbine racetracks can do it.
Say less.
You guys are builders.
Well, there's also a lot of space there that they can just go in, and it's not like they have to tear something out to put something in there, which is nice. So, like, at least for that.
Question for these two. What do you think early signings? How does York look? Honestly.
I'm
You've
excited.
seen on paper,
Yeah.
what do we look like so far? What do you think?
I haven't seen the entire team on paper yet.
Yeah? You haven't checked the group chat?
Been busy, brother.
Elijah?
Honestly-
What do you think?
I'm excited.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, we've been training. We've had like
Good.
preseason having York runs in the area. What do you think?
I'm excited because it's a good age group. We got like everyone around like the same age, good
agree with
professionals.
that.
Everyone's played. So it's like, and I feel like the motivation from everyone I've spoken to is kind of similar.
Age, I think, is huge. I think that's what your team was really good at last year. And
We had experience.
Yeah.
You guys both had experience, and then you guys make obviously great season
Yeah.
runs and playoff runs as well. I think that's what we were missing a bit last year.
And you need a deep team. Like in the CPL,
Yeah.
you need when you're playing like in
And that's what.
I think we were talking
August,
about
all
this the
that.
other day, no?
Yeah, we
Ezra?
were.
And I think Nico, you and me talked about it off air that York, they had the talent last year, but because of injuries, the depth just was exposed really, really quickly.
if you have
right?
two wingers, like two good wingers, one gets injured, and then everyone or all the other teams know we just got to shut down the other winger. You're like, it's sticky for you.
Well, even worse,
I think-
York had two wingers go down within like a week and a half of each other.
We were cursed last year.
Yeah, I think in this league you need, obviously the best starting 11 you can have, but I think it's more or less positions 12 to 16.
Yeah.
Whether or not those guys can come off the bench consistently and keep the level up, or potentially those be guys that could start on your team.
Yeah.
That's the X factor
So
in
I
the CPL.
Yeah.
Right now, where it is,
Yeah.
100%. Like, I think that was why we did so well last year. Like, there was times where we had a lot of interchange in our team, but people were either taking advantage of their opportunities and starting to get more minutes consistently, or they were coming off the bench consistently and doing well for us. There's a lot of times in games last year where the guys that came off the bench either won the game for us or helped us come back. So I think that's an important piece in this league, especially because you have the 5 substitution rule.
Yeah.
It's going to make a difference for sure. We're going to take a break. On the other side, a little bit more with Elijah and Brian about their transfers, get into some League One conversations as well, and play some audio about who's the best rep team in Ontario. This came out a few weeks ago. We're going to get into that. Lots more to come on Footy First right here on TSN 1050.
Want to listen to your favorite shows from home? Now back to the Footy First podcast on TSN 1050. Champions live here.
Some of you people have Ferrari exteriors and Nissan interiors. But level out, man. Anyway, I don't want to talk to you.
Welcome back to Footy First here on TSN 1050. Elijah, you like this?
It's all facts and no printer. We do vote things. That's where to Anna winter. Iced coffee in the summer, hot coffee in the winter. Everything's alright, like sweet girl on Tinder. Man, don't really
love
drink.
it, all right.
Yeah, don't make me drink. It's a footy show.
I kind of want to let it ride, but that's actually Elijah right there. In conversation here with York United's new players, Brian Wright and Elijah Adekugbe. Elijah, that's your music, eh?
Yeah, it is.
Not bad, eh?
I'm biased though, but yeah.
Is that a
tough.
radio premiere?
Yes, it is, bro. Yo, we made it to Footy First, mama. We here.
Well, I'm glad we could get that in for you.
1 sec. I got the seamless transition of conversation. Ever you say, "Mama, we're here." Your mom went viral on Twitter during the World Cup. What was that like, just watching your brother?
Bro,
Seamless transition.
Yeah.
right
All
there.
first off, like, yo, we had the last year there was a couple viral moments. So like my family had a moment. Like
Adekugbe's are going off.
yeah, like obviously my brother jumped in the snow, which was crazy. Obviously, I haven't said that to you.
That's nuts.
yeah. Then
That moment was incredible. I was in Arizona with my boys on a golf trip, and we just happened to walk into a bar, and it was on, and we watched that game and watched him jump, and we were dying.
like the thing is like. To me, that's just sad. We went everywhere. Then he scored against the States, which obviously that was another big moment too. And then he does the whole celebration like this, where I see random kids in my youth club going like this to me. I'm like, all right, say that. Then my mom goes viral, which that one went more viral than my brother's one because like.
Which one? Both of the clips?
Yeah, look, my mom on the saying, "Oh, this is my son." Because the thing is, she was in Nigeria at the time. She was coming to the World Cup afterwards, just because like her dad died, my grandpa died, so she did the funeral first. So that was actually just raw. And yo, she sends it in our group chat, and we're like, like you guys are just meeting me. My family's kind of extra, like we're loud, like you know what I mean, like. So
Apple
then,
doesn't fall far from the tree.
and obviously, so my mom goes nuts, and then the next day I wake up and like I just see like a bunch of messages. I'm like, people are sending me. I see my Instagram. I'm like, my DMs are going off. I'm like, what's going on? Then, bro, when it went to 433, wow. Then it just goes crazy.
What was the clip?
My son is in the World Cup. My son is in the World Cup. Yeah, baby. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
And like it was just like a raw like response. And then, bro, like I had my team at Bradley Vliet last year messing me like, yo, my friends in Holland are like, sent me this video of your mom on TV here. I'm like, bro.
That's crazy.
And honestly, it's just like those things are just like they're cool because it's like a moment for like 2-3 days, and then like you go crazy. But then back to real life.
How does it feel to be a rapper, a professional soccer player, and you're the least famous person in your family?
That's not least famous for now.
Respect.
But speaking of that moment, like, how cool was it to go over to the World Cup and watch your brother play for the national team? Like, that moment must have been incredible.
Yeah, it's a full circle moment just because, like, I think there you just really feel it more. Like, we were in Canterbury as kids. Like, my family didn't come from anything, you know? So, like, when you see it there and, like he came to, like, the stands or whatever, and you're just, like, I'm like, bro, don't even, like, worry about, like, analysis. Don't ask me how you played. I'm just like, you're at a World Cup, bro. Like, let's just enjoy this moment. Like, just do your best. Like, I don't know. People ask me all the time. I don't know. I'm just proud. You know what I mean? Just proud.
I want to ask.
Brian,
Brian, what did you think of the Canadian national team performance in the World Cup?
I thought obviously the first game they kind of put the world on notice. They had a really strong showing. Obviously, hopefully we all thought they were going to win that first game, but showed a little bit of quality. That I said a little bit, but Belgium obviously has quality. They got a chance, they buried it, and we couldn't bury any of our chances. So that just goes to show at that level like what it's like. Obviously, we have a lot of players transitioning to that level. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen at the next World Cup. But, I mean, obviously, our first World Cup in how many years? And now we're going to go to another World Cup, obviously hosting. So hopefully the players just keep developing. We get more players in at top clubs, top leagues, so we can be even more competitive at the next World Cup.
Yeah, it's crazy to me that, like 10 years ago, that was a pipe dream to get to a World Cup.
Yeah.
Now we're going back to back, and probably going to be there consistently moving forward, just based on the expanded World Cup. Like there's a legitimate chance that Canada will be consistently at a World Cup. That's crazy.
Which is crazy.
The core right now is pretty good. We had obviously Atiba was the oldest person, but majority of the starters were in their mid-20s, early 20s,
which is at least another like 5-6 year run.
So
you'd hope.
Yeah.
And then again, with how Canada soccer is growing, you assume that the development
is only
going to be stronger.
Pops up out of nowhere. Like it's only going places.
Yeah. And speaking of development, like we talked last week, Niko, about League One Canada, League One Ontario, and like the growth of all of these League One levels and the potential for expansion. And having Elijah here, I think it's a good time to bring it up because there is conversations about League One Alberta potentially being a thing. A, do you think something like that would be sustainable in Alberta by itself? And B, how much interest has there been within the Alberta soccer community for it?
Like the thing is, long term I think it's sustainable. I would have like my doubts at first just because I don't know if the pool is big enough. Because how many teams would they want in like a League One Alberta? What do you guys got?
I think you need at least 8 because CPL has 8.
And you guys have what, 20-some?
Yeah,
we have too many right now.
We have tiers so much in Ontario.
Not yet. It's coming.
Yeah, there's this new platform that they talked about maybe last year where there's going to be almost like a promotion relegation.
You're lying for League One?
Yeah. There was 30 clubs at one point.
Brother, the pool is massive here.
I'm gonna say this now. Alberta,
he's not sure if he get 8 teams.
Alberta, that's the only we could like.
The other thing is though,
but Alberta talent is like criminally underrated. I'm gonna say it like criminally, like.
But the thing is the other
like criminally, bro.
You think Alberta's pool can match up against Ontario's?
100
what?
100%.
You think so?
Our talk.
How come it hasn't happened?
I think about it like this. What do you mean? How's it not happened?
Nationals. I mean, rarely do you see the top teams.
I would just say,
to be fair,
right
this
now,
conversation is really not fair because 3 of the top 6 populations are in Ontario. Like the actual pool itself
is way bigger.
Toronto's pool for players is ridiculous. Like even like now in the off season, like you can go to pickup runs and have like quality pickup runs. I'm like, obviously I've never gone to one in Alberta, but the pool I would say here in Ontario is actually ridiculous.
Here's something that I'll say. I'm going to throw this guy under the bus a little bit, but Max went to the money tournament that you threw in Calgary, and I said, "What's the talent level like? Are the money tournaments better in Ontario?" He goes, "Yeah, like way better."
First off, I'm gonna put a disclaimer on that because the one he came to, it was the first in the city, so I just hosted it and ran it myself. So like, I got the best of what was available at the time. But if we actually had like, give me another.
What was available?
Exactly.
Bro, it's the holidays. Bro. It's the holidays.
But this is what I'm saying though.
That's why everyone's
in Mexico.
But this is what I'm saying. Here, the money tournaments has been a thing since we've been in high school, probably even longer than that. So I'm saying like people know Boxing Day money tournament, and then there's a new one, the FTF one. Like the pool, like so you're saying the best people available, but like people could leave and go on vacation, and the pool's still going to be good for a money tournament.
One thing I would say, like if we had like an all-star game, like Alberta's best versus Ontario's best.
What age? Like what age?
Even if you go our age, I'm 95, 96, right? That was like my player pool.
Okay.
Even if you go 94, I think our player pool, our talent pool, like is.
Look at the national team, bro.
I don't.
How many players on the national team are from Alberta?
2.
Who?
Okay.
Your brother?
How many people?
There's three. Okay.
Just curious.
There's 3 people
Curiosity,
from
right?
Brampton alone on the national team, not even from Ontario. So it's like.
But I would just
There's
say
more
like
than 3,
here,
isn't there?
here, you guys, it's like more set up because Alberta, we have so many players that could have been, but like the way like the pool is in the pathway, it wasn't. You know how many like talented players just aren't playing pro that are from Alberta, and that's why I'm saying 95, 96, 94. Like my age group just alone, bro. Stupid.
So do you think getting a League One league there is crucial to build that talent pool and maybe put it on the map and these guys can start getting noticed?
Yeah. Long
Well,
term.
So in
the
10
other
years,
thing-
are we
the
going
other
to see a
thing
bunch of guys coming from Alberta?
I think so, bro. And
You think so? You're not too confident now.
you know what I'm saying?
Bro, nobody can predict the
Oh my
future.
goodness,
That's all I'm saying. There's no guarantees. But yo,
I'll
the player
guarantee you there'll
talent
be
pool-
good Ontario players on the national team.
Yeah, but yo, it's set up here. You guys have the whole system. The pathway's laid out. It's easier. Alberta,
Yeah.
we got to work for it.
You mentioned that you're worried about the player pool right now just because like there's not anything set up. Well, if they were going to put League One Alberta together, you have to believe that players that are coming from Saskatchewan would still play in that
that's
League
clever.
One, right? Like you have to assume that at some point because they need a place to play. The reason that League One Ontario is as strong as it is right now is because they do get players from not just Ontario. Like we have guys coming in from all over to play in League One Ontario. It's been around for so long, it has that pedigree. But if a new League One showed up in Alberta, like you have to assume that players from Saskatchewan are also going to be coming in. Maybe even Manitoba.
Isn't there talks about a team in Saskatchewan for CPL?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they would
That-
get good fans. You seen the Rough Riders?
Yeah.
They go crazy.
Yeah.
There's nothing going on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Support it.
Well, they have junior hockey and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. That's pretty much all they have in Saskatchewan.
Soon to be CPL.
And hopefully soon to be CPL, but we're still waiting on that. Speaking of the talent in Ontario, because we were talking about this in the break. Brian, you and me actually played against each other growing up. We're the same age. Another guy who we played against, Kwame, had this ridiculous comment on another podcast saying that his Sigma team was the best rep team in Ontario ever. I'm going to play the clip
Ever
because
kills
it's ridiculous.
Ever or for
Ever
95s?
kills me.
He said ever,
Let's hear what he
that's
says.
not-
which is ridiculous. But here's what he said.
My Sigma 95 team was no joke, bro. You, Richie, Kyle Laren, Pitchside Solutions, they would post like legendary rep team.
Yeah.
And your squad was there. Do you think your squad is the GOAT Ontario rep squad?
I think so. Like if you were put us against any other academy team or like rep team, our age group, I think our team, like toe to toe, our team was the best one. Like our whole starting lineup, everyone went to a Division I college. We were playing the OSL men's league at like 10th grade, 11th grade. Bobby got us from 12 years old, and he's like, "Yo, I'm never leaving this squad." Until we all went to university. He was like, "Nah, I know this squad's gonna be golden generation." And look what happened. Me, Kyle, Richie, Chris Nanko all went pro. Justin Stoddard went pro. Everyone else at least finished Division I, got full scholarships.
Okay. Couple things that I have to say there. A, they did have top talent on that team with Kyle, with Richie, with himself, and Kwame. That team, as a team, was awful. I played them 4 times in tournaments. They never once beat my team. I thought Ajax, the team that you played for, Brian, was better than that Sigma team. That Sigma team was trash as a team, but they
Oh,
had some
wow.
top talent.
Wow, it's a big claim.
What do you think?
Wow. I don't know about the greatest team ever, but that team was pretty good. To be fair, though, at the same time, I'm pretty sure Sigma is technically an academy, no?
They are, yeah.
So they
So-
weren't competing for the Ontario Cup,
Yeah.
and at that time,
That was it.
Ontario
Ontario
still
Cup was
elite.
the elite of the elite tournament
Yeah.
to be in.
Did they win
So
it?
They,
Well,
they
they
weren't
couldn't
an
even
academy
play.
because they were an academy. Academies were just popping off at that time.
yeah.
Yeah, and
They were
that's the
first
same
ones.
thing. Like the academy system back then, there was 1, maybe 2 decent teams in the academy
I
system. The rest
remember
were-
Outside of TF.
I remember
Awful.
Sigma, Bryce, Windstars.
yeah, but
A and B.
Windstars was awful.
Yeah, like so those were like just a few,
What are
and I
these
think these
teams,
guys
by
would
the
go
way?
and play more in the States.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure, but like
Yeah, they played
like,
at a bunch of ID camps. and
growing
stuff.
growing up for us, like the competitive. I don't know about today because I know a lot of things have changed, but I know growing up today, like I mean back in the day, like rep soccer was where you wanted to be. Like
Yeah,
you
club.
wanted to be in OISL, which was like the top division you could be in. There was promotion relegation when you were what? I started at 14.
14. That was
So like
but
you-
even
promotion
before, 'cause you had to
relegation
get
Oh yeah,
started
yeah.
at
To
like
get up to
10.
OISL, there was promotion
It
relegation.
was like 10
so,
years old. That's when promotion relegation
yeah.
started.
So like growing up, like you would play your game. Like I would play my game at night and go home. Next day, I would on the computer seeing who won where
Yeah.
I'm looking in the standings. Like
What
it
was
was
that
serious.
website? What was that website?
There
It
was
like
a
blog.
there was a Terra Power ranking.
Yeah, Terra Power rankings.
So you would get ranked in Ontario, like your team, like across all the teams, like your tournaments you played, how you were playing your games, blah blah blah. So
It could ruin.
I
your
know
day.
I know your
It
mental
mentally
health
ruined
suffered,
children.
bro. 'Cause I would lose,
no,
like, I
Ajax
would
was
lose minor
Ajax was
soccer
always
games.
good. Like
yeah, you guys were always top
we were
5.
always good. We had one down year where we almost got relegated, but after that we bounced back.
Bro,
and we
imagine
were-
getting relegated at 13. I'm depressed.
Well, my team
For
did.
sure.
My team literally did get
That's why we're
relegated.
so tough.
It was awful.
And these guys can't handle it.
Y'all are
Yeah,
average. You're
Alberta, they don't know about promotion relegation.
All they're talking about this whole time, it's so tough out there. I was like, bro, it's tough here.
A little
It's
cold,
not, bro,
but
here y'all
If
are
I was in
chilling.
Alberta, I was the greatest goalie
Yeah.
ever, probably.
Are you dumb?
Who came out of Alberta? Ducci. Yeah, fuck.
good try, Nico. Good try.
Okay, but switching it to you now. So Kwame says they're the best team. Who do you think was the best Ontario rep team?
Are we talking all
Are-
ages
are we-
or our
okay,
age?
yeah.
That's
All
a great
ages?
question.
Because it sounded like he was talking all ages.
He was, but I'm saying I want to
I,
make sure
I
we
can
get-
only speak to the 95 age group.
Yeah.
And the 95 age group, I would say Ajax is up there, my team.
Yep.
The Markham before they
up.
fell out. Markham U14, unfortunately they lost in the final.
Yeah.
But that team was serious. They had Fraser Aird, Jordan Hamilton, Petrasso, Mikey. Like
They were
that team
good.
was serious. They had like maybe half the provincial team.
That team for 94s was Unionville U14. They were like stacked.
Them
They had
too.
national
Yeah.
team
They had
guys.
Sergio Camargo. Like that team was serious too back in the day. So
Bro, you guys don't know Edmonton Juventus 95 from Alberta.
I've heard about them.
Nick,
Yeah,
Nick,
I've actually
listen
heard
about
about
this.
that. I've
They
heard about
won
that.
the nationals.
They
but
won
beat
nationals
us.
twice. And like I'm from Alberta.
Not twice. Not twice. Not
Nah,
twice.
they won at U18. Last year U18.
Yeah, but okay. Here's the thing.
doesn't count.
Over
How?
here.
That year
No.
doesn't
Wait,
count.
wait.
It's a star on the badge.
No, but
I
Elijah,
get what
listen.
you're
The
saying, but that year
reason I
doesn't
say
count.
that is because here in Ontario, like you don't do nationals at U18 because you leave to go to school.
We sent
So
our
we
U17s.
send our U17s to go do U18
So
nationals.
you qualify as the U18 team, but before the tournament's ever held, the U17s are already being played.
yeah.
That's
So when
why.
you win Ontario Cup at U17 in Ontario, you're going to nationals at U18. So I don't know when I know they won at 14 because I would ask Jordan and Fraser like, yo, how'd you guys lose? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Like your team, you never should have lost.
What they say?
Jordan Hamilton got injured. It's a key player.
He did.
And
He
you
got
guys
hurt-
only
he got
at
hurt with, like,
U14
three
they beat him
years.
in.
That's a big loss.
That's what I'm saying. Jordan, like the size he is now, he was the same size at 14.
Yeah, that guy hasn't
So
grown since we were
like,
like 12.
he was
Brian.
bullying everyone. Yeah, like he was bullying everyone from a young age. But
Brian's the same though.
like
Brian
you
looked like this when he was 14.
no.
But Jordan legitimately
at
looked
U16,
like the same at
Aaron
12.
Mills. Aaron Mills was actually really good
Oh,
too.
Aaron
They
Mills
had a
was
dynasty.
disgusting.
They went on to win, I think, 3 Ontario Cups in a row from
Yeah.
15, 16, and 17.
And they went to the national finals.
They won it in U16.
Yeah, I think they went to like 3 finals. Like
Yeah.
finals.
Who's like their best player?
That's the thing. None of them ended up.
None of them play anymore.
ended up playing. They went to University of John
Their
States and
biggest
all
name would have
graduated.
been Mark Woodid, and he
Oh.
was at TFC Academy.
He was gross. He was the best pure striker I've ever seen.
The streets will never forget.
I love streets.
Like, sorry, so let me correct that. Ever played against? Ever
Okay,
played
I was
against.
gonna say, ever
but I
seen
played
is
against.
like-
But I played against Jordan Hamilton. I played against Kyle. Like I played against those guys because they're all our age group. He was the best pure striker I've ever
I hope
seen
Mark
play.
is watching this right now.
It's like a doctor somewhere.
Yeah, this guy was like clinical.
smart.
He was ridiculously
smart.
smart. He was the smartest player on the field, and like just never. He never even tried. It felt like it, right? He was
Yeah, I
so
mean,
relaxed.
He was chill.
So Ajax 94s aren't even getting a shout.
No,
we're
no,
talking
no, no.
95s.
No,
Like, that's all we were
we were
saying.
just talking about 95s.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Ajax 94 team was also ridiculous. They won back-to-back nationals.
Alberta 94 teams.
You
If
guys,
you shout, Kwame in that clip says all the starting lineup went to NCAA D1. That's basically the same for that Ajax team.
Yeah.
I was the outlier. I didn't go to D1. I was the only one.
But we
You got
were-
guys like Jay
Yeah, they let the
Chapman,
squad
Luca
down, huh?
Gasparotto. The twins at that point went to the thing. You got Shane Sitar, Kyle was
LaShawn,
Dover, LaShawn,
Nikki Axhorn.
Nicky Axhorn. Streets will never forget. League One Ontario legend.
So
The
That
other,
team
the
was
other
good.
team that was
And we
like,
just won.
ridiculously good, the 91 Oakville team with Kyle Becker, and that team was gross.
That's before my time.
Yeah, now we're talking like
91.
No, I
That's
know,
getting
but like
older.
if you get a chance, look up the 91 Oakville team. They were gross. Like Becker
Yep.
was obviously the big name, but man, they put out.
well, what
talent.
about the 93 Gunners, Ajax?
They were
Yeah.
good, but
We
they
at
never
one
won.
point we had a dynasty between Ajax 93s, 4s, and 5s.
Yeah,
Bro,
We're just
for those
running
we've been doing
showcase
that in
tournaments.
Alberta.
Again, it's Alberta.
Bro, who scored at the
Nico,
World
man.
Cup? Y'all don't know. We're talking OG teams. Footy's Crew 92 team. If you don't know, you don't know.
I don't
guess
know.
I don't know. Guess I just don't know.
You need to, bro. Alberta, trust me. I think this is my hot take. Especially 94, 90.
Were you guys
95,
getting
96?
invited to the big tournaments?
Like what?
Disney
Showcase.
Dallas Cup.
Dallas
Bro,
Cup.
they didn't give us ratings, and like if you
Okay, so then whose fault is that?
that's because they didn't know us.
Okay,
who's
so
on that team?
Huh?
Who's on that team? You're
Okay,
gonna give
if
me
we
a
go
hot take.
95,
Radio.
96, I think right now, if we go 95, 96 All-Star team from Alberta versus Ontario, I think we take it.
no chance.
Just because you're saying, 95.
Kyle, Richie,
The
you're
same-
both 95.
What do you mean, bro? We have guys on the
said what I
national
said, I
team
didn't take it
that.
back.
Who do you have?
Wait, what age group? Sorry.
95,
95,
96.
96.
No,
Is-
we have
Sorry?
guys on the national team right now from Ontario.
That doesn't change.
Let's just make him. Let's
Let's
hear
humor
his
him.
ridiculous point.
Humor him.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
And y'all are gonna hear. Okay, keeper, you got Ducci, quality keeper.
Okay.
My brother left back.
Okay.
I'm just gonna name players first. I'm not gonna do 11.
If I don't
Ki-
know these players, go ahead.
You won't know like half of them. But this one of the most talented players I think this country has seen, but he just haven't played yet. Knija Elva. He's currently playing third league.
In Austria or
Bundesliga,
Germany?
Germany.
Okay, yeah.
He's a baller.
Okay.
We had Sebastian Cabrera, Sadi Jalali, Bruno Zebi. Everyone played academy, played pro. Ajay Cabra, Ajit Sarkaria.
Ajay.
You remember Ajay? Yeah, you know
He was
these
my
players,
coach in
bro.
2021.
Oh yeah. See? The thinkers. We had Jackson Farmer, like this team, like even the 96s, I didn't even
I'm not disrespecting any of those guys, but all those guys, for the most part, besides guys like your brother and the gentleman playing in
And
Germany
Carducci,
and Carducci, all those guys that you're naming, I'm playing at a higher level, and I'm not even touching the 94, 95.
I would just
Ontario
say though,
team.
it's only because like in
And neither is
Alberta,
Brian.
if you really want it, like you kind of have to go out of your way. You know what I mean? So it's like here, I just when I like based on what you guys have, it's like kind of the path is easier here. You guys have had a pro
Not
team here.
I don't
for
know
a
if I don't know if it's easier. Like it might be even harder because we have the pool
but
here.
just more clear.
But the pathway is clearer.
Yeah,
here
clear. In
Ontario
Alberta,
than it
it's
was
like-
in Alberta.
But you can be a big fish in a small pond out there.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's benefits to that.
There
then-
is, but you have to be seen.
and
That's
by the time you're
difference.
16, 17, have the, like some people are like, yo, I might just go make money on the lines by Fort Mac, and you make 100K. Like you think I'm lying? And if you
Yeah,
don't
I
feel
mean, I
like
hear you. I hear you with you saying about the line to get there, but at the same time, when you're in it, it's hard to even make teams at time over here because the pool is so big.
Yeah, y'all got a lot. But I know Alberta talent. I'm gonna ride for mine. Like
As you should.
As-
But
as you
I'm just
should.
saying, like, I don't think it's touching Ontario,
Yeah. And overall, to wrap up this
let
conversation,
alone Quebec.
also true. It's a different language now. We can't even argue with them. But to wrap up this conversation, I'm not going to give and say Kwame's team was the number one team, but there's other teams that could be spoken about.
Yeah,
I think
it's a
this
debate
is
for sure.
Hot debate.
That was a hot take
love,
from him.
I love how like direct he was. He's like, no, they're best team ever. Not like no question in my
Ever
head. I'm
What
like,
did you
what?
say? You got to represent your own.
yeah, you have
So
to. You have
but
to.
I
still.
would, if I'm on a podcast, I'm going to be going hard for my team as well. So I respect it, but
Listen, when
it's a conversation starter.
when we have two guys here who beat Sigma a few times, like I can't let him rep
all I'm
that.
going to
that
say
statement.
this: my team is the best. I don't think our team's losing to a team Nick McVicar's on.
That's crazy.
That's okay. You can say
Nick,
that.
you're just gonna stand for that? That's crazy.
It's okay. I beat him twice, so it's fine.
When?
I got
When?
called up, brother. I
And
played for Oakville. We beat you twice.
Said he got called up too. He wasn't even on the team.
Okay.
And with that, we're going to take another break. On the other side, a little bit more conversation about national programs. All that and more here on Footy First.
First, it's the Niners visiting the Eagles, followed by a rematch of last year's AFC title game as the Chiefs host the Bengals. It all starts at 3 on TSN 1050. The NFL lives here. Now back to the Footy First podcast on TSN 1050. Champions live here.
So they know my name, you know? No, it's just the paper. She wants sex right now. Save it for later.
It's actually not like it's good music.
It's
Thank
good
you, bro.
music for sure.
I try. I mean,
You're better than Lonzo Ball. Would you say you're better than Lonzo Ball?
Yeah, I mean-
are you better than Dame?
I was gonna say my first inspiration when I like obviously I always like music. Dame was my first proper one. So I'm like, this guy's an all-star, top NBA 75 player all time, and he's got 3 albums out. Why am I scared to make music in the CPL? So am I better than Dame?
Dissing.
No, you know what I mean? But top 75 NBA all time.
Yeah, that's
and I
crazy.
see my man dropping songs during the season, and I'm like, because at first, you're kind of in your head about what you do outside of the game.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me just be free, and like, I put my all into it, so hopefully people like it.
Well, welcome back to Footy First. Here on TSN 1050, Nick McVicar, Niko Giantsopoulos, alongside York United forward and midfielder Brian Wright and Elijah Adekugbe. And boys, great conversation about Alberta, potential League One, and Ontario teams. I want to transition. I want to transition to
Ontario.
I want to transition to the national team. And last week I talked about how frustrated I was at the fact that we aren't getting much representation along the women's side. No training camp right now for the NWSL players ahead of the She Believes Cup. One dual citizen being drafted in the NWSL draft. And then this week it comes out that the men's U.S. team are playing preseason games with all the MLS players for the U.S. national team. 7 debutantes made their debuts for the national team. Like, that's crazy. And yet Canada doesn't even have a camp going on. Like, why is this continuing to be an issue for the Canadian program? I don't understand it, and maybe you guys have a little bit more knowledge than I do. I don't understand why this is continuing to be an issue.
Honestly, I don't understand either, especially after finishing top of the octagon and like going on the run that they did to get to where they are now. So you would think to keep the ball rolling instead of just playing a game. Was it Nations League in March is the next game? So they should, between now and then, like, I feel like they should be looking at other MLS guys and other guys from all over the world, as well as maybe even the top CPL guys, to get a camp just to look at people, get exposure, get familiar with some new faces. Because obviously John has his main crew of guys that he knows that are going to be in the pool for the big games.
And rightfully so.
Yeah. So I think we should definitely be having a camp right now. I don't see what hurts on why we couldn't, especially with the MLS guys just doing preseason now. So if anything, they're going to be going back to their preseason teams in better shape because they started earlier.
But that's the question. Why?
I don't know. I think for me, what I think it'd probably be is probably just business. Like, as why they didn't. Should they? For me, 100%. But I know, remember they had all that beef with the CSA and the CSB last year, and that stopped them having. Didn't they miss a game pre-World Cup or something like that?
Yeah.
So I think it always comes down to something like that, like dollar-wise. But I think if you want to be an elite team, you have to put like the craft before the business.
You have to put the effort in.
Yeah.
Like this, that's why the American women's team has been so good for so long. They schedule friendlies every opportunity they can, even if it's just with NWSL players, right? So their top players are playing in Europe. We know that.
Plus your pool, like, it's just the pool too. Like you were saying, Brian, like if you have your top guys, you don't even have to bring them in. They're in season. No. You know what they're about. You bring in another 30 that, like, you're like, ooh, I didn't know about this guy. Maybe
some fringe players.
And you know what? Actually, they do with the national team. John has been doing when they were first started. A bunch of those cycles when they would have moves, he's helping them get moves because he's seen them. He's like, wow, this player's a good player. He needs to be playing at a higher level to get a consistent challenge. So if you bring in another 30 guys, CPL, MLS, you bring them in and you're like, dang, like there's some sleepers here. I've got connects and I know like you would be good in this team right here. Then you like take players to the next level. The national team gets a wider pool and more players are playing at a high level.
Well, that's what I was arguing last week is that like these camps aren't just for development of the players, but it's also opportunities to showcase the talent we have here in Canada. And especially with the guys in the MLS or at the top of the CPL, we want to give those guys as many opportunities as we can to show and prove to the world that they can play. Why not give them a camp, play against 2 random friendly matches, just get them out there for more people to see? Why are we not doing that more?
Do you think CSA, John Herdman, whoever's running it, wants to keep that player pool exclusive in a way? Like only the top level guys, like he almost doesn't want to be giving.
Why would you? But you have guys that are aging out. Like
I think if that's the case, then it's kind of like a 2-step forward, 1 step back with all the progress that we made. Because obviously Herdman he's a good coach, but I feel like at the same time, the pool of players that just came through and developed and clicked all at the right time, it just all meshed with getting Herdman coming in and getting all these players. Like Tejan is maybe in his 5th year as a pro, and he just started clicking. He didn't even get called into the senior team until like
after that U23 tournament.
Exactly. So someone like him, where they've been watching him, they've been watching his progress. He gets called into the national team around March, I think it was. Does well, goes back, tears up MLS, gets a move. World Cup time, you know? So it's like, why not give those exposure to the other guys where you're having more competition, where you have, if anything, in the long run, it's a better situation for him to get those guys in consistently because now you have a harder problem on who to choose because people are playing at a better level consistently.
So opportunity missed by the CSA, both on the men's and the women's side?
For me, yeah.
I would say so.
Absolutely. We got to take another quick break. On the other side, we'll wrap up the show. You're listening to Footy First here on TSN 1050.
Now back to the Footy First podcast on TSN 1050. Champions live here.
Welcome back to Footy First here on TSN 1050. Nick McVicar, Niko Giantsopoulos here with you, and York United new signees, Brian Wright and Elijah Adekugbe joining us today. Guys, don't have a whole lot of time here. Outlook for the season, really quick. Personal goals, what do each of you have as a personal goal?
Good question.
Mine's simple, just to win and just be the best version of myself. That's kind of all I really want.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say something cliche too. Like, obviously, you want to win the regular season. Actually, there's more emphasis on winning the regular season this year. So
that is true.
Regular season, but obviously top 4. Obviously, score as many goals as possible because regular season gets a bid to Champions League the following year. So,
Niko, what about you? I don't get to ask you this very often. What is your personal goal?
Yeah, Niko, what is your first?
After
Other than
last
staying
year,
healthy.
after last year, that's what my perspective has changed immensely. Last year, I'm like, I just want to be the best. It's like right now, it's like I just want to play like all the games I can, stay healthy, and let the rest take care of itself. But obviously, Brian's right. So much on the line this year with Champions League.
Absolutely.
You might never get an opportunity to play Champions League football, whatever region you're in your professional career. So while there's 8 teams in the CPL, it's going to be growing. This is probably the easiest time to get those spots.
And you got to take the opportunities when you can get them. Well, it's going to be a fun year for York. Elijah, Brian, we really appreciate you guys joining us today. Hopefully we'll get you back on sometime this season when you guys have a weekend
I'll be
off.
back for sure.
That's what I like to hear. Appreciate it a lot. If you're looking to follow us on social, it's at Footy First Show on Twitter and Instagram. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel where you can